Hi, Jeremy. It's so good to see you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Whitney. I'm a little nervous, I think.
Yeah, so am
Yeah.
I. I'd love if you'd introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to your story. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So I'm Jeremy Wright. I do go by my three names. My mother's middle name was Shaw. She gave it to me. I love my mother. I'm originally from Sulphur Springs, Texas. Came to Florida in 1999, and in 2004, I moved up to Atlanta, and that's where I reside. So
Uh-huh.
that's my little intro, and yeah,
Very good. So you say you grew up in Texas. Is that where you went to the meetings, or did you grow up
yes.
going to meetings?
So no, I was not born and raised going to
Okay.
meetings. So where we're from in the little town of Sulphur Springs, I was going to school in Sulphur Springs, and then in the sixth grade, I transferred out to the county school where I went from like having 300 students to like 20 students.
Hmm.
So we walk in, and this is 1988. So real quick, the fellow students let me know that Atricia, they had church in their home.
Okay.
And as a 12-year-old little boy, I'm visioning
Hmm.
pews in their living room. Oh, and I was always intrigued, okay? And I want to point out that a fellow student that year, we were talking, and he said, I will never forget him. His name is AJ Hawkins. He says, what if that was all of a front and they were like sexually abused behind doors?
Mm.
I said no. Anyways, that was in 1988. So that was in the sixth grade. And then after Christmas, my mother's best friend's son was killed in a car wreck. And they were Church of Christ. So the father's mother said he wasn't baptized, so he's in hell. And it scarred my heart. And I was scared. And
Mhm.
then and then also my grandfather died that year. So emotionally it was not a fun year. But neither here nor there, it's life, right? So we get through the sixth grade, and then we get into junior high. And also, Trisha's mother, Alita, was a substitute teacher. We were a very tight-knit group with even our mothers and us. It was just, I couldn't have asked for anything better. But I always remember they went to church convention in October. So then we got into high school, and I will never forget, we were sitting outside of gym class. And I said, Atricia, have y'all put up your Christmas tree? And she turned to me and called me out. She says, do you not read your Bible? I'm like, huh? She says, well, in Jeremiah 10:5 or 5:10, it says about cutting down a tree, decorating your heathen. So as soon as I got off the school bus, I went and found some Bible in the bottom of some closet, and there
Mhm.
it was. And I'm like, OMG. So, anyways, I still laugh about that today. And then when we were juniors in high school, she invited me to gospel meeting. Clearly, there was no pews in their house. And the workers were, I'll never forget, Mana Johan and Diane Knob. And to this day, I'm very fond of them. I don't, of course, in touch with them, and you'll hear about that later
Mhm.
in my story. And it was just very interesting, I thought, and, just intriguing. And I think I went to like three. They had like three, and they were like on a Tuesday night. So then we get into our senior year, and I actually she invited me to come to Sunday morning meeting. So not knowing, I barrel up to the door, ringing the doorbell. Anyway, you have to laugh about that. So then we graduated, and she was the valedictorian of our class, and she looked at me when we were about to walk down to get on the stage, and she looked at me. She said, "You need to listen to what I have to say." And I can't remember it, but it was more, about life and decisions and all that. So, but I'll
Yeah.
never forget. So we graduated, and then I wasn't working on Sundays anymore. I worked in a restaurant where I had to work Sundays, but I had finagled my schedule, so I was coming to a Sunday morning meeting.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget. I'm going into town, and I have to pass the road they lived off of before I got into town, and I just went to her house, and she wasn't there, or her sister. It was just her mother, Alita, and I said, "Okay, let's talk. Tell me." Like, when do you take part in meeting? I can't remember exactly the conversation, but I was there
Yeah.
a good hour, and we had this long, great Bible talk. And she told me, she says, well, convention, they'll test the meeting on Saturday night, and you stand up if you want to make your choice. So I said, okay. And again, I'm a planner. So on the calendar, it's like the last weekend, and it's called Mountain Peak. It's outside the Dallas area.
Mhm.
So I went and I professed, and I thought, I am on top of the world because I found something. Because remember, but all through high school, I was scared about dying and going to hell and whatever. And also,
Yeah.
I need to point out, in high school, I was bullied. I was called a fag, and I was called a queer. That's the main point
Mhm.
of my story. So,
Mhm.
so I want to say that because no one called me, none of the kids called me that, and I was like,
Okay.
finally there is some
Hmm.
decent people, who are not shaming me or degrading me or calling me names. So
Yeah.
anyways, I was on top of the world. And so then that was our freshman year of college and second semester. And by the way, I never dated girls in high school. So I'll tell you that, tell
Mhm.
you this. Spring semester, literature class. I'm in the front row and these two guys walk in. I'll never forget them. And they walked past me and they walked to the back of the class. And I couldn't stop looking. And I didn't know what was going on.
Hmm.
Anyways, long story
Yeah.
short, we got through freshman year of college. Clint went to Baylor because he's a big Baptist guy, and Chad stayed there. And I didn't see Chad again until the second semester of our sophomore year. Long story short, he's like, "Dude, you're gay." I says, "No."
Hmm.
I said, "No."
Hmm.
And funny enough, like after I professed, I was driving over to college. It was just the next town up, Paris, Texas. I thought, well,
Yeah.
what if I met a girl? And I thought that might not go over well. And then looking back, that's cute.
Yeah.
So, but then I never did think about it again because my goal was to get a degree and get the heck out of East Texas. But anyway, so Chad said, and I'd finally admitted to myself, and I'm struck I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I don't know what to say to anybody. So, but it felt good to
Mm.
say it too, right? So I remember spring break, I drove like 3.5 hours south to meet Diane Knob to like I need to talk to somebody. So we meet at a Dairy Queen and I just start crying and she's like, we can leave out
Yeah.
of town. So like I came out, I came out to her and she says, well, you need to read the Bible and it says it here. And but she did not
Mm.
shame me. She did
Mhm.
not say you can do better. She was the nicest. And but what she did say, and I'm gonna start crying, just be careful because HIV was rampant, right? She was more worried about my physical body. And so anyway, so I will never forget that. That was in 1997. Also, I met another Diane Myers, who's one of the friends at convention.
Mhm.
And she's a huge part of my story. And we just connected. So, anyways, so let's speed up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go back. But
No,
anyways,
you're good.
I got through the my sophomore year of college, and then I had made plans to transfer up to a school. It's called Southeastern Oklahoma State, which is like right above Dallas over the border.
Mhm.
It was a perfect fit. And so I worked the summer in my job. I was an intern at that point at the newspaper in Paris, and I was excited to go off to college. And I don't know, it's just I needed
Mhm.
to get out, and so
Yeah.
I'll never forget first day. Oh, so I went to meeting on Sunday.
Mhm.
Oh, my mother didn't cry, but Alita cried. Trish's
Mhm.
mother. She's like, another child of hers is leaving. So I got to campus and got unpacked, and my mother left, and they had a little icebreaker. It's called Sundays on Sunday. And there
Mhm.
he was, my best friend, Jeremy. And I could tell
Mhm.
he was family. And anyways, we connected very quickly, and we were going to soldier through this, and we were going to put this away, and we were going to change, and we were going to help each other. Well, that all was good until he found a boyfriend in the second year. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, what happened to the deal here? But anyways,
Mhm.
but I want to tell you that a lot of the kids in Texas go to Texas A&M, and I wanted to go so bad. But one, I didn't have the grades, and two, I didn't have the confidence. And I think God was working that angle. I think He wanted me in Durant, Oklahoma. This little meeting that I went to, they were all older people. They took me in, they fed me. Didn't know how to cook. I still don't know how to cook. I can shake a martini, but so Chris is the cook, I'm the bartender. So where we met in a lady's home, her name is Helen Shoemake, and she never married. So then, of course, we had a walk-in elder, I guess you could say. But Helen loved us. She loved my friends, Jeremy. So there was like four of us. There was Jeremy, Leanna, Crystal, and myself. So she would cook for them. It was just a great meeting, and I think God needed me there to give a little life to it, And I say that
Mhm.
with I say that with confidence, not arrogance. So then we made it through. That was my junior year. We made it through, and then Jeremy and I actually roomed together that second semester, and that was fun. And then we all moved out, and we moved into apartments, and I lived with Crystal and Leanne. And I'm wondering back, thinking, I wonder what the friends thought. He's living with two girls, but I didn't think anything about it because
Mhm.
there was no relationship there. Here, I'm sorry, I need to back up. The summer of
Sure.
'97. So I was working at the Paris News, and we had new workers, Norma Henderson and Faye. And can I have your permission to be totally upfront with you?
Mhm.
Norma
Of
was very
course.
blunt. But they would come and they would take me to lunch. And, I felt honored, but we were sitting at lunch one day and she says, Jeremy, what's your struggle? I'm like, well, honey, if you're asking, I said, I am gay and I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, it's okay to be single. And I'm like, I'm not worried about being single. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot going on here. So this is a big part. I'm so sorry I missed this. So she wanted me to get baptized. This is where it kind of turns. I've heard stories, you've heard stories where workers denied people for getting baptized, right?
Uh-huh.
She wanted me to get baptized, and I didn't because I didn't feel worthy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very opposite. And when I
Mm-hmm.
told her, she was mad. And I could see in her eyes. I'm like, I didn't feel worthy. I thought this was between God and me. Anyways, that kind of stung because I was really each day trying to live my life and be sure I'm in meeting on Wednesdays, be sure I'm meeting on Sunday mornings and not stray off. But anyway, so I made it through the freshman year and then I came back home the summer of 98 before I went back for my senior year and I worked back in Paris. But I want to tell you this, Helen cooked my best friend Leanna's birthday dinner, supper, like in the summer, and I came back up there and surprised her. That's how much that they loved me and loved us and whatever.
Yeah. Right.
And in somewhere in between this, I came out to Diane Myers, and I don't remember when, I don't know what she said, I don't know. I just knew that I could confide in her. And she's like a nurse, but also she got into therapy. And so she was real an advocate of therapy. So Diane found this therapist in Dallas. His name is Chris Austin. And she said he was a conversion therapist. He
Mm-hmm.
it's Church of Christ faith, and he had an office there. And she says, Jeremy, don't worry about it. It's a religious guy. He can
Mm-hmm.
help you. And it was like an hour and a half away. It was like $75. And she basically said, Jeremy, use some of your student loan money to pay for it. And she says, basically, she was saying, take this opportunity to invest in yourself. And Whitney, it was the best decision I ever made. So here I go down to the church, South Lake Church of Christ. I meet this guy named Chris Austin that's like 6'6". Was a good looking man. And I'm like, and I said, please just don't cram it down my throat. He says, no, 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 we're not here for that. So we had
Mm-hmm.
individual therapy and we had group therapy. And I left there like I was on top of the world. And then I thought, I can do this. And then there were other guys there, that were struggling too, and they were trying to suppress it and I guess changed. I don't know. And I would go down there once a week. And I'm looking back, I'm like, not only the money to pay for therapy, I'm like, I don't know where I got this money to pay for my gas, and I don't know. It all worked out right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we got through that, and I was really wanting to be in the Dallas area. I wanted to be working for a big corporation. I wanted to make some money. I wanted to be successful. And one of the friends there worked. His name's Al Russell. He worked for what we know now is Verizon Wireless, but it was called GTE. He'd been there for years and he was very successful. And I looked up to him. Like he said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, he said, I can try to help you get into an internship. So then I didn't hear anything from Verizon or GT at the time. So I had made plans to go live with Diane Myers and her husband Gary down in the San Antonio area, and I was going to work at a water park. And then I would come to Florida in August. Well, one day I walked in from work. I was a lifeguard. And I was just like gross and everything. She said, young man, you have to make some decisions. And I'm like, oh. And she says, GTE called, Verizon called, and they want you in Dallas on Monday. And I'm like, what? So I thought, oh my God, it's happening. And then also I could get back closer to my therapist, Chris. So I mean, I packed up that weekend, and here's the thing. I did get back to therapy and it was really good. And I'm still struggling, of course, but the therapist said, I'm going to give you a challenge. You have to come out to someone in your church.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the therapist said, Jeremy, what you need to go. I told him about how we go on these ski trips. I don't know, did you ever go on ski trips with the friends? And
No.
I loved it. And I want to say I'm very grateful that I was always invited and was always appreciative. So the therapist said, you on the ski trip. He says, you get up to the top of that mountain. And I says, and you hang out with the guys. And I did, because I was always scared to hang out with the guys because I was scared they were going to call me names, right? Because I was raised up being that way. So that summer, I was actually over at Al and Jill's for doing something. I don't know. So I came out to Al because I was like, I have to tell you something. And this is what he said. Well, that's too bad.
Mm.
Anyways, and I'm not upset. I guess I was looking for, first of all, I had the courage to share this with a male who's professing, who knew that would go, because I didn't want to be shamed. I didn't want to be degraded or, you know what I was
Mhm.
looking for? I was looking for acceptance is what I was looking for. And they accepted me. I was looking for love. I didn't grow up with a father, so I was always looking for that older man to like latch on to, and I really respected him. And so, anyways, but he was the one I talked to, and I was a little deflated. But me, I just pick up and move on. So, all right. So then, once August came, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm moving. I'm headed to Florida. I was like, I'm just gonna go to the edge of the country, and maybe I'll just run to the ocean.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get to Florida and I thought, well, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so this Amelia Island is outside of Jacksonville. And of course, there's a meeting 20 minutes from here, which is very lovely. But that I didn't have to work weekends. I was in sales and marketing. So I went to a convention in South Carolina. I went to two conventions in Georgia. There's one Demarest and there's one, it's called Metter. Have you ever heard of Metter convention?
Mm.
Everything's better in Metter. I flew home for Georgetown, and then of course I went to Apopka, which is here in Orlando. So I was kind of on this convention high, to be honest. Life was
Yeah.
good. Met some really great people, and I had a really great. I was loving. I was in my moment where I was doing this internship in marketing at this resort. So went home, and I'll never forget. I was packing up my office to go to the airport. Actually, there were some friends here. They were going to drop me off at the airport. They'd come out here for a little vacation, and they had hired a new director of sales. And I met him that day. His name's Craig, and I could tell he was
Mm.
gay. He was a good-looking man, and I thought, okay, this is not good. But it ends up being good. So, anyways, I go home, I graduate, I come back, and I start my career here at this resort. Started going to the gym. You can't tell it, but I met a couple at the gym, Brett and Tip, and they took me under their wing. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, this can work out, but I'm struggling here, right?
Yeah.
I found a couple that it's okay, right? And I don't know when I found this. I found it at the nightclubs in Jacksonville. That was kind of like my outing. Like I could go, I could be myself, and I didn't drink. I didn't drink. And I
Mhm.
have to tell you, Whitney, I would roll in at 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning, make a U-turn in the shower, and I would be sitting in meeting 10 till.
Mhm.
And I never missed one meeting. And I thought, well, if I can go out, I can be in meeting. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Al Russell taught me the meaning of being at meeting 10 minutes early to let the spirit to settle in. And he always said, if you're 10 minutes early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late. I've never forgotten that. So give credit where credit is due.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel guilty, right? I don't
Mhm.
know what I was having a good time. And then I was working for Craig. And by the way, Craig had a partner at like 16 years. And this is where I'm getting really confused. I'm like, like they're living a normal life. And if I went out on a date with someone, I was very guarded because remember, I got to go to Sunday morning meeting and also I didn't drink, so people kind of shied away from that. And there was a point I didn't want to live, you know, because I saw what people could have and I saw what people didn't want me to have or wanted me to do what they thought I needed to do. I tell you this one part. I was coming back from convention down in Apopka and I was with our elders meeting son, and we were coming back, and he was riding with me, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to tell him. I said, I'm going to tell you something. I said, I'm gay. He says, no, you're not. I said, no, I think I am. No, Jeremy.
Mhm.
So, anyways, in 2003, I met someone and we dated. It was on and off, and it was on. And then Craig, my boss, he wanted to put me in Atlanta to work the Southeast market from Atlanta to drive business down here. And I needed to get away from chains. But fun fact, I went to meeting, here in Jacksonville to say goodbye to all the friends. And the elder's wife comes up to me and says, Jeremy, you need to get to Atlanta and you need to find a wife so she can cook for you. And I thought in the back of my mind, that is not the same plan I have.
Mhm.
Anyways, so I moved to Atlanta. Of course, I went to meeting up there. And then come January, I'm like, Jeremy, this is your year. You got that past you. You're in Atlanta, grow up. And I had to make myself go to the movies by myself. I was lonely. And when I went to the movies by myself on a Sunday afternoon, life was so much better.
Mhm.
So I get my friend James and we go out to this great restaurant that has a great outdoor patio. This is in May. So we belly up to the bar. At this point, I have a cocktail, and there he is,
Mhm.
Chris Walker. And we took the summer slow. And then by September, we decided, why don't we get an apartment together? You travel 5 days a week, so it's not like we're going to be there. So there was a Saturday, Chris was with John, my ex, moving me out of my apartment into our new apartment, and I was at convention. I had priorities. Hey, there you have it. So, anyways, and I was still going to meeting. I felt like I was living a double life at that point, but also I was like, you know what? It's working out. No one's getting hurt. But I'll tell you, like in
Mm,
2007, I started skipping meeting, missing meeting, and not for any, I wasn't bitter. I wasn't mad. I wasn't whatever. And here's the thing. No one ever asked me. No one ever called me and said, Jeremy, are you okay?
mhm.
And remember, I don't have any family in this. So they're not calling. Someone would call, right? Oh, well, is Jeremy okay? Because he hasn't been to meeting, but they had no one to call.
Yeah.
So then 2008, I got laid off because of the crash. And then,
Mhm.
then I got a job right after that. And then I got fired from that job. And I was embarrassed and I never went back. And I had lunch with one of the friends on Thursday, and we were talking about all this. And she said, Jeremy, I kept trying to find you. She says, but you're not on Facebook. I said, there's too many X's. But we found each other on CCF. And so
Okay.
Rebecca, I said, but and I was okay with no one calling. Like I didn't need to be. Well, and I take that back. The elder's wife, she would email me and just check in. And then finally, I remember we had just gotten back from a vacation in Hawaii in 2012. And she emailed me and I responded. I said, oh my God, it's so great to hear you. Great to hear from you. Thanks for checking in. Chris and I just returned from Maui. Never heard from her again. And that's okay.
Mhm.
It's all good.
Mhm.
And I never did think anything about it. And I was good with it. And by the way, and Tricia and I are still in touch. I want to say that. She's still a dear friend of mine. And always
Mhm.
will be. And she is the most non-judgmental person I've ever met. She's
Mhm.
actually been to our house, stayed with us. And so it's all good. But I never really thought anything about it until then. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Last October, November, I'm standing in the kitchen and Alexa goes off. Elder in church sentenced to 120 years. And I am like two dogs. He's an elder and he got caught with child abuse material.
Okay.
Okay. So I think I shook myself a martini. So then
Yeah.
I go on and I start Googling this. Well, I see you. The first thing I saw was that Kari and Kyle do an
Yep.
interview, and
Mhm.
I am like, what? And then I see you, and you have the talk with Mike. So, and then I just keep going. Oh, and then I found that Sherry Autry, her story,
Mhm.
and I'm like, well, anyways, I don't know. I'm sad. It's just so sad. And like, can you help? How do you help? So, having all that said, I love your platform. Thank you for allowing me to be on here to tell my story because
Absolutely.
we're not perfect, but also I don't think you need to kill yourself or
Mhm.
deny yourself something because of whatever. Having all that said, I have a couple of things I've been going over in my mind.
Mhm.
If you're listening to this and you're a worker, keep in your mind and in your heart that people are in meeting, they're struggling, they're scared, they're lonely, they don't know who to turn to. So sorry. I cried yesterday too, going over this in my head.
Mhm.
If you're one of the friends listening and someone has the courage to confide in you, just listen. And if you're struggling, you're not alone.
Mhm.
Uh, And you know what? I'm always here. I'm here. I've been there. It was hard. I was scared. I was confused. I didn't know who to turn to. So, anyways,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Whitney, I'm happy.
Mhm.
I have to tell you, so Chris and I've been together for 20 years. We actually got married in
Mhm.
2017 on Maui. So I can
Mhm.
say I'm happily Mauied. I'm in a loving relationship, but equally, Whitney, I'm in a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
And I say this with appreciation. Not everyone can say that. And I'm very appreciative of how this is all turned out.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so
Thank you so much, Jeremy. The thing that's so incredible is I know you apologize for your emotion and those last sentences, but that is so beautiful.
Thank
Because
you.
the thing is, we need someone to care and we need someone to listen, and people are hurting and we don't need judgment. And I love that how that loops back to the very beginning of your story is that you found these people that loved you and didn't insult you. Like, that's what we need.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Whitney, in a world where you can be anything, be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wake up every day with two goals. So I wake up happy, healthy, and helpful. My two goals are to help someone, whatever they need, and to bring a smile to someone's face.
Yeah. Thank you for being that space, like even to offer that you're there for people that need someone to listen.
I am.
That's amazing. Thank you for looping back and for caring about these people that from a news story, you're just like, hang on.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
some of those people.
absolutely. And thank you for allowing me to come on the platform and share my story. And I'm not bitter. If the truth be known, I don't have a right to be bitter because I've always said no one held a gun up to my head on that October night in 1995 to stand up. So I'm
Mm.
happy. So
Yeah, well, thank you. It's an amazing story. Thank you for the bravery and the courage to share it, for reaching out
thank
and
you.
being willing to share it. I know it will be appreciated. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I look forward to
Yeah.
connecting soon. Would you do me a favor?
Mhm.
Will you have a great rest of your day?
Absolutely. You too. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.